Hey! Welcome into another What Am I Reading? Here with me, Louie. Today we're discussing the much promised Daredevil run written by Charles Soule. This run lasted from 2015 to 2018, and we're only looking at volumes 1 and 2. We'll be cutting it off right before we get to the Muse run. That's going to inspire Daredevil Born Again. So make sure if you like what I'm saying about the first two volumes, you go check out those two and the third, so that we can get a feeling for Muse before Daredevil Born Again. That said, let's take a look. So, Volume 1 of Daredevil starts off with Matt's identity being secret again from everybody except Foggy. We don't learn for a little bit how Matt got his identity wiped from everybody. It's kind of a big sticking point for a lot of the issues that we're reading now. It does go in to influence his relationship with Foggy. Foggy is very hostile and kind of distant from Matt during this run because of all of this. And it's definitely something that we'll see pop up again actually in Volume 2. But in Volume 1, we see Daredevil working with Blindspot, who's introduced in the all-new, all-different Marvel .1 that came out that year to introduce him. We pick up with Blindspot, who happens to be an undocumented Chinese immigrant living in Chinatown in New York, and he is trying to combat someone known as Ten Fingers. Ten Fingers happens to be some sort of cult leader that has established a new church in New York, and Blindspot has a connection to the church and the immigrants that are there. Feels like Ten Fingers is taking advantage of them because he keeps asking for more and more donations from them. So him and Daredevil try to take down Ten Fingers on a street level. Meanwhile, Matt, who is no longer a private defense attorney, is a district attorney, and he is trying to take down Ten Fingers through the courts. He ends up building this very solid case. It looks very impressive. He has a witness who's willing to testify against Ten Fingers. That is, until some of Ten Fingers' men get into the courthouse and actually cut off 2 of his fingers, because that's something that Ten Fingers does. He takes fingers from his followers, gives them to other followers. It's weird. You look at their hands and they have multiple fingers. 10 Fingers has 10 fingers on each hand, hence 10 fingers. So it shows that 10 Fingers can get to anybody, anywhere, and the witness no longer wants to testify against him. This causes Matt to actually get a demotion at work and end up handling ECAB, which is like the night court cases, and even that he has to kind of flake on because Blindspot needs his help at one point. And we learn that Blindspot actually has a connection to one of the followers and one of the closest allies of Ten Fingers. It's his mom. Blindspot's mom is as close to Ten Fingers as can be. It's one of his top lieutenants, essentially. And Blindspot goes there to try to talk his mom out of being part of it anymore. The mom won't hear it. And while this is all going on, the Hand shows up because Ten Fingers is a former member of the Hand who is now siphoning off some of their power to give his followers power, and the Hand does not like this. They don't like when people misuse their power when they leave, and all of that. So the Hand shows up and they start murdering the followers of the church. They go after Ten Fingers. Ten Fingers then orders that the followers actually get murdered as well because they saw him fail and he can't have that. It's bonkers. It's great though. It's such a great look at the way like cults might work in the inner workings. Like, I can't have them going out and spreading that I failed, so they need to be wiped off the face of the earth. And fun fact for anybody who doesn't know this, Charles Soule before writing actually was a full-time attorney. So he's kind of doing the attorney thing from experience. So kind of cool to see his look and his perspective on that with Daredevil. Eventually, Daredevil shows up and they stop the Hand from murdering all of the followers. However, Ten Fingers gets by the Hand, so he's no longer a problem for them anymore either. And that's kind of how Volume 1 ends, with all of that resolving itself. But Volume 2 picks up with Daredevil over in Macau and Hong Kong, and he's playing a high-stakes poker game. Turns out he's under an alias. I spent $10,000 for the buy-in, ends up winning, beats basically the house's ringer on all of this. They try to keep him around, figure out how he beat him, and we go from there. And it turns out that all of this is a big ploy to get to a list that Black Cat has compiled. But part of this is he calls in Spider-Man to help him. Spider-Man helps him through all of it. They end up having to chase the person on a boat straight to Hong Kong from Macau. And after they get the briefcase, Spider-Man has throughout the issue been saying, Daredevil, my oldest and most trusted friend, like kind of sarcastically. And it turns out it's because every memory he has of Daredevil has a gap in it. He's like, it feels incomplete. And Daredevil eventually confesses that he wiped his identity from everybody. And he explains to Spider-Man that the briefcase that they just stole with the list in it is all of the information Black Cat stole on all of the crime syndicates in New York, and that he plans to use it to take them all down. And rather than use it to cement the power of Black Cat or whatever mob boss might have that information, that's his plan. And eventually Spider-Man believes him and gives him the briefcase so that way he can go on and fulfill his thing, because Daredevil was honest with him and now he can kind of trust him again. And Volume 2 does kind of jump around to a few different stories, because next is a 2-part story with Elektra, where Elektra just randomly attacks Matt out of nowhere, asking about a daughter she had, or that she was pregnant with before she started training with Stick, and then Stick took the daughter and put her up for adoption. Well, it turns out none of it was real, because after fighting with Daredevil and Daredevil asking Elektra some questions, she goes and she confronts the person who put the mind wipe on her, essentially. And from there, he says something, he says like a code phrase, which wipes it all away and makes her realize it's all an illusion. And she decides to go try to hunt down whoever did this to her in the first place. And she kind of goes off after that. It's a very weird kind of small issue. Like not even an issue, kind of two issue run there that I still don't necessarily understand how it fit in there as part of like the earlier cementing of things. But that's what it was. And the final issue of Volume 2 is an annual number 1, which focuses on Echo and Daredevil. And in this, Echo is attending a concert. A musician steps up and plays a song. And as the song plays, this virus kind of takes hold over the audience and turns everybody into these like sound wave-ish monsters. And obviously Echo isn't affected. She can't hear the sound. So as she's seeing all this happen, she runs to try to find Daredevil, realizing like his hearing is like turned up to 12. So how do I protect him? Because it's probably going to reach him sooner than everybody. And if it gets to him, then we're all screwed. So she goes and she throws like headphones on him, gets him to figure out like what's going on and see it all. They determine that it must be Claw, because Claw has now turned himself into pure sound. And they go to a radio station and have a DJ kind of help them remix some of the stuff. And they're unsuccessful at first. Echo realizes she must have misplayed something, because she can basically mimic anything she sees. So there must have been something she misplayed. So she plays it again, just as the DJ and Daredevil are turned into the Claw monsters, essentially. And now she's playing it, you can see the sound coming out over the airwaves and reversing everything that Claw did. And that's how it all ends, with eventually that all just being dissipated and everybody being back to normal, thanks to Echo being able to play the song. And that's where the volume ends. And the very next issue, number 10, just a sneak preview, picks up with a painting. Well, with an Inhuman being kind of confronted in an alley. And this is during the time when the Inhumans were being pushed heavily by Marvel. So they had the Terrigen cloud going around, which was turning random people into Inhumans because they didn't realize they had the Inhuman gene in them. And it became this very big story about people being scared of Inhumans because of everything going on. So that's the start of that, and the start of the Muse storyline. So definitely go and continue to check out this run and read it. Let me know in the comments whether you want to check out this run, whether you have checked out this run and read it. If you have, let me know your thoughts. And yeah, we'll catch you here next time. Thanks.